Hi, I'm attorney Gregory Dell, joined by attorney Rachel Alters, and we're going to talk about one of Rachel's success stories for a long-term disability claim against Metlife on behalf of an ER doctor. And Rachel, in these videos, we like to talk about the background of the case, what the claimant's medical condition was, and some things that you had to do to help get the claimant approved, and then provide some tips for claimants who have a claim with Metlife that may help them with their claim. So first, give us the background of this particular claim.
This is a client who is an emergency room physician who ran the emergency department at Broward General Hospital. He had been doing that for 20 years. He contracted COVID-19 back in June of last year and had a very bad case of it and ended up with cognitive disorder and dysfunction from COVID. And he now has significant short-term memory loss. He can't concentrate. He's got heart palpitations. He also has visual impairment. He gets a blurred vision and he gets very dizzy. And this has been going on for almost a year now. So unfortunately, he's no longer able to run the emergency department because as an emergency room physician, you have to have all your faculties and be 100%. So he stopped working back in June, hasn't been back to work yet. He's working on recovering, but it's been a long haul for him.
Is this an individual disability policy or an employer-provided policy?
He has both, but this one is an individual one. He also has an employer-provided policy.
Okay, and with this particular policy, what was the definition of disability and what did you have to prove in order for him to be eligible for long-term disability?
With this policy, the definition was whether he could perform his regular occupation as an emergency room physician, and if he could not perform the material substantial duties of his job, then he would qualify for disability benefits. And it's a no-knock policy throughout, meaning that the definition of disability does not change.
And so what types of doctors was he treating with for these conditions?
He's mainly treating with an infectious disease doctor and a neurologist. The neurologist he's been treating with ongoing, but he also underwent speech therapy. He had to have a neuropsych evaluation so they could determine what the cognitive dysfunction level was, and then he's been following up with the neurologist on a monthly basis just to see if he's been improving in any way, shape, or form.
And so all of his medical conditions were induced by COVID, or did he have anything prior?
Nothing prior. He had absolutely no underlying conditions. He just contracted COVID, had a severe, a severe case of it. He was, sick for probably 2 to 3 weeks, and then found that he just wasn't getting better, that he couldn't focus, his memory was terrible, he couldn't remember things, and this is all, and he's in his early 50s, so it was a shock to him that this all occurred.
And so it wasn't a physical challenges that was preventing him from doing his job, correct?
Well, there were some, because he did have the heart palpitations, he had tachycardia, bradycardia, he had fatigue, shortness of breath, so that went on for quite some time, but the lasting symptoms that he's been having are the cognitive issues.
Okay, and so what types of doctors did he treat with for the cognitive issues, and what evidence did you rely upon to prove his cognitive limitations?
He treated with a neurologist. He has a neurologist that he sees on an ongoing basis, and then he sent him for a neuropsych evaluation and did a bunch of testing just to see what was going on, because obviously COVID-19 is a new virus, a new disease, and we're all just learning today, ongoing what's happening with this virus. So they sent him for a neuropsych eval. They found that he had cognitive deficits with his short-term memory, his executive functioning, and all the type of things that a physician needs to have in order to treat patients and run an emergency department. He just wasn't capable of doing it anymore.
And what is a neuropsychological exam, and who administers it?
Usually it's a neuropsychologist. Sometimes it's a psychologist. It depends. It can be done by either, and it's an examination that takes usually 2 full days, 4 hours at a time, sometimes 8 hours at a time, depending on the severity or what the test encompasses. But it tests whether you're able, how you're able to remember things. It tests your executive functioning. It tests, basically your ability to recall and all, different kinds of functioning, psychological and neurological functioning. It also can test to see if you are depressed. There's a lot of things that it can test for. And it also tests to see if you are putting forth full effort and that you're really trying during this testing period. It's a very tedious, long evaluation. And then the neuropsychologist will prepare a report with an opinion as to whether they believe that you have the cognitive dysfunction and whether or not you're able to work in your occupation. Yeah.
COVID-19 or COVID is a new diagnosis that the whole country's been dealing with, and this
Right.
goes back to June of 19. Did you, so there's not a lot of medical literature on it, and we still don't know long-term effects, but did you, under this policy, have to prove that COVID-19 is the cause of his cognitive difficulties, or could you have just proved that he's having cognitive limitations and we don't know what exactly caused it?
I mean, I suppose that if we didn't know that it was the COVID-19 that did cause his issues, then the carrier probably would have approved the benefits as well, as long as he had these symptoms and, we could show that this was going on. However, there was no other explanation other than COVID-19 causing this issue, because he's never had the issues before. He got COVID and now he has the issues. So the carrier just assumed that that was correct. He showed the carrier that he was positive for COVID-19, provided the test. He was in the hospital for quite some time and provided the hospital record. So there really wasn't a question as to what was causing it. But had it not been COVID and been something else, we probably still would have been able to get him on claim.
Right, because some people may be watching this video and thinking, well, how do I prove that COVID caused my symptoms, where there's really not much literature as to can COVID cause you to have cognitive limitations long term?
Right.
We just don't know yet. So this is actually a case study in itself. But
Right.
I wanted people to know that with a disability policy, that the causation is not a requirement as long as you have a condition that's disabling. So that's a big advantage. So at what stage were you hired in this claim, and what was your role supposed to be?
I was hired in the application stage, and the doctor called me and he was concerned, obviously because it was a COVID-19 claim and this was something new. He wasn't sure if it was going to get approved and what he needed to provide in order to get his claim approved. So we made sure that I reviewed all the medical records in advance, went through all the hospital records, all of his neurological records. I went through the neuropsych evaluation just to make sure that everything was supportive in order to give him the best chance of getting approved.
Did he contact the carrier before hiring you?
He did not. He did not. He contacted me. I contacted the carrier, requested the claim forms, and then they provided them, and then I was the one that was communicating with the carrier and with my client. But he did not have any communication with Metlife.
And do you recommend that in a best case scenario where someone can plan 100% what they want to do you prefer that claimants contact you before they reach out to the disability insurance company or after?
I prefer they reach out to me first, but if they've already reached out to the carrier, it's not a problem. But oftentimes, they record conversations. There are things that go on when a lawyer's not present, and I like to be the one that first contacts that carrier so that I make sure that they know what's going on, everything goes through me, and nothing is said by the claimant that could possibly hurt the claim.
And this particular claimant, so the claim has been approved, and now what will your role continue to be for this particular client?
My role's been continuing because MetLife's been asking for additional information. They want updated forms. They're asking for information from the employer, which was a challenge because he had dual roles at the hospital. He was an independent contractor and an employee. So I had to go through HR at the hospital and their lawyer to communicate with them in order to get them to fill out the proper information. So this is, it's been complicated, but it's necessary because MetLife's going to continue to want updates probably on a monthly basis, because I'm assuming they're hoping that he's going to get better and be able to go back to his job as an emergency room physician. And the client wants to do that as well. But this could be, another 6 months to a year before he's back to himself.
Some claimants think that by having a lawyer, you're making it like it's litigious or you have something to hide. What is your response to that, and how do you believe the disability insurance companies view having a lawyer involved right from the inception of a claim?
Right. It's quite the opposite, actually, and I've talked to many insurance carriers and the adjusters, and they're usually very grateful that I'm on the claim, because they know we know what we're doing, we know exactly what needs to be done and filled out. A lot of times the claimants are emotional and they don't understand what needs to be done in cases. So they're usually pretty happy when they see our name, somebody from our law firm, one of our lawyers on the case, because they know it's going to be a smooth transition. Everything they ask for, they're going to get back quickly, and they know that we know exactly what we're doing, and it's actually a positive.
Yeah, and I always tell people that as well, that I also say, look at it like a real estate transaction. If you were buying a home, you're not familiar with the contract language, there's little things you could make a mistake on, and you want a lawyer to advise you to make the process run smoothly. And same thing here, because as a claimant, especially this ER physician, you're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars every year at stake, plus you're talking about a doctor who's giving up his income at work to possibly get 60% of what he was earning beforehand. So there's a lot at stake here, and one little mistake, whether it's Metlife or any disability insurance company, they're going to delay the payment or deny you.
Sure.
And so we've seen every single thing there is. I know you've represented hundreds of doctors and business professionals, and so we're able to anticipate every single one of those things. And not only anticipate every one of those things, but also avoid the months of delay that goes on, because we put together a full portfolio of information beforehand, knowing every single thing they could ask for and then getting it in.
Right.
Despite the fact you did that in this claim, MetLife and these companies still come up with things that they continue to want even though they've approved the claim, and that's why you continue to protect the claim for as long as this ER physician needs your assistance.
Right.
So if you're somebody who has a MetLife long-term disability insurance claim, no matter where you live in the country, contact Rachel, myself, any of our disability lawyers. We'll always provide you with an immediate free consultation, and we look forward to the opportunity to work with you. Hi, I'm Gregory Dell, the managing attorney of Dell Disability Lawyers, and I hope you find the video you just watched helpful. We put these videos out all of the time, and we'd love if you would subscribe to our YouTube channel. Beyond our videos on our YouTube channel, we also have lots of information available on our website at diattorney.com, and we encourage you to come to our website. The goal is that we want you to be educated about the disability insurance process. And when you get to our website, you'll see that we have information all about your specific disability insurance company, your occupation, and your medical condition. And we've designed our website such that you can easily search our website to find things that you may specifically be looking for. Now, at our website, we have thousands and thousands of pages of information, hundreds of videos that you can search. Plus, we're building a section of reviews of all the disability insurance companies, and we have the Ask Our Lawyer section where you can go ahead and ask us any questions that you may have. Now, we realize that you may not need us right now, but you may need us in the future to help you with your disability claim, and we think one of the best ways to keep in touch is by clicking the button below and subscribing to our channel. And most importantly, again, no matter where you live in the country, we're always available. Just go ahead and give us a call. We're happy to discuss your claim and let you know immediately if we can help you.